Lonely billionaire in a wheelchair revealed as a heartwarming hero after single mom's incredible struggle. Max Harrington, a lonely billionaire, had long been hidden behind the grand walls of his mansion, a prison forged from steel and silence. At 45, trapped in a wheelchair due to a tragic accident, he had watched life go by through the tall, elegant windows. Outside, laughter erupted from the children in the neighborhood, their joy a stark contrast to his own solitude. He was the ghost of a community, a shadow looming large, his wealth creating a chasm he couldn't bridge. Meanwhile, just blocks away, Sarah put on her brave face each day as she juggled the demands of life as a single mother. Lily and Jake, her two bright, energetic children, faced challenges that left them bruised. They were bullied at school for their worn-out shoes and dingy backpacks. "You can't wear that to school," the other kids would taunt. Sarah felt the tightness of desperation in her chest, heavy like a stone. She was determined to change their fate, so she began applying for scholarships, each rejection hitting her like a slap. She was frustrated, but her spirit refused to break. Max watched Sarah from his window, emotions swirling inside of him. Her hustle inspired a warmth in his heart that he'd thought long gone. He admired her tenacity, but he felt powerless, stuck in the confines of his wealth and the judgment it brought. Did they even know he existed? The lonely billionaire's heart ached for connection, yet every attempt to bridge the divide felt futile. As autumn leaves danced down from the trees, the town faced a critical issue. The annual charity gala, brought to life to help families like Sarah's, threatened to be cancelled due to a funding crisis. As he stared at the ceiling of his lavishly decorated study, a light flickered in his mind. This was his moment. Should he let the fears of his status and doubts hold him back? No. In a sudden rush, he decided to silently fund the event, aligning his heart with the community he had always kept at arm's length. But as the night of the gala unfolded, revelations came to the surface that would shake everything. Sarah learned about a secret benefactor who had stepped in, and resentment bubbled in her chest. She felt an unfamiliar anger towards Max, the man who had been living a life of ease while her family struggled to survive. She had her doubts, and their worlds collided when he approached her. "I didn't know you were the one behind this," she said, the bitterness coating her words. But instead of retreating, Max took a deep breath, allowing his vulnerability to shine through. "I've been watching you, Sarah," he replied, voice soft but steady. "I wanted to help. I want to be part of this community, like you." The air crackled with emotion, tensions high, yet their conversation forges a pathway towards understanding. Hearts raced as they faced each other, pain and hope mingling in the atmosphere of the crowded gala. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the night rolled on, the gala turned into a celebration of unity, but lingering questions remained. Could Sarah forgive Max's past? Could Max break free from his isolation? Their unexpected connection, still fraught with uncertainty, ignited a spark of collaboration and compassion. The night held promise, a chance to transform not just their lives but the fabric of their community itself. Would hope and tenacity prevail against the odds? The music swelled as the stars twinkled against the night sky, casting a soft glow around the gala. Max could feel the moment's weight pressing down on him. He was stepping into foreign territory, breaking his own barriers, and it both thrilled and frightened him. Glancing at Sarah, he noted the fire in her eyes. Did she really see the sincerity behind his actions, or was she still holding on to resentment? Max folded his hands, a gesture of uncertainty. "I know this doesn't change what you've gone through," he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm here now. I want to help, not just with money, but as a part of your lives." Sarah's gaze softened for just a moment. "You want to help, huh? And how do you plan to do that? By throwing dollars at a problem?" The bite in her words cut deeper than either of them intended. It was not just about money, it was about trust. As the conversation continued, people around them danced, unaware of the emotional storm brewing at its center. Max watched Sarah grapple with her anger, the tension radiating between them, heavy yet electric. Each word she spoke was like small thunderclaps, echoing the frustration of her struggle and the burden of her pride. Lily and Jake burst onto the scene, clutching their mother's arms and bubbling with excitement. "Mom! Look at the cake! It's huge!" Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling like diamonds. Jake tugged at Sarah's sleeve, pulling her closer to the dessert table, as if the cake could distract them from the weighty conversation unfolding. Max's heart melted at witnessing the kids' joy. They didn't seem tethered to the hardships of life just yet. In their laughter, he found a flicker of hope, a reminder of innocence that he longed to protect. Everything in him wanted to reach out and nurture that happiness, to share in it. "Can I meet them?" he blurted out, surprising even himself. Sarah turned to him, her defensive stance still intact but the softening of her demeanor evident. "You want to meet my kids?" "Yes," he replied resolutely, looking straight into her eyes. "I believe they deserve someone who cares. I want them to know I'm here to support, but I also want to know who they are. I want to be part of this change." Moments passed. The gala around them continued unabated, but it felt as if time stood still. Finally, Sarah nodded, uncertainty lingering on her features, but she could see the honesty in his gaze. "All right, but this doesn't mean I trust you yet. I wouldn't expect you to." With that, Sarah took a breath, leading her children toward Max. He wheeled his chair closer, heart racing. It was time to forge a new relationship, to step into the light he'd been missing for too long. "Hey there, I'm Max," he introduced himself, smiling warmly at Lily and Jake. Their expressions shifted from curious to cautious. Max chuckled, the sound genuine. "Don't worry, I only bite when I'm hungry." Lily giggled, a sweet sound that echoed in Max's heart, filling it with warmth. Jake mirrored his sister's laughter, and just like that, barriers started to bend. Little did they know, the acceptance they shared would set off a chain of events that would lead to greater challenges ahead. Would they be ready to face them together? As the night wore on, a glimmer of hope sparked in Max's chest. But deeper issues awaited them, shadows still loomed near. When Sarah uncovered a hidden truth about Max's life, would their fragile connection withstand the storm? The air buzzed with laughter and cheerful chatter, the lights casting dancing shadows across the floor. But in the midst of the celebration, Max felt an unshakable heaviness in his chest. Meeting Sarah's children was just the beginning. As Lily and Jake began to draw Max into their playful world, he realized that this was more than just a chance to connect, it was an opportunity to rewrite his own story. He reached for a cupcake, frosting smearing on his fingers as he held one out to Jake, who eyed it suspiciously. "Go on, it's sweet," Max encouraged, feeling buoyed by their innocent excitement. Jake tentatively took the cupcake, and with a grin of pure delight, he dove in. "Yummy!" he exclaimed, frosting smudging his face. Laughter erupted, and Max felt himself relax, momentarily forgetting the weight of adult concerns. "See? Not so bad." Max laughed, glancing at Sarah, who stood a few paces away, watching. But even in the blissful distraction, Max noticed the flickers of unease in her expression. Did she regret bringing her kids closer? Guilt crept in, but he pushed it away. He wanted to change her perspective of him. "Lily," he called out, shifting his gaze to Sarah's daughter, who was inspecting the dessert table with wide-eyed wonder. "Think you can help me pick out the best treat?" Lily's eyes lit up, as if she had been given a secret mission. "I know the best one. Follow me," she commanded, leading him away. The moment felt precious, a tiny seed of trust planted. Then Max caught Sarah's gaze, her skepticism mixed with a hint of hope. She was watching closely as her children began to engage with a man she thought she knew so well and yet so little. He could see the walls in her heart slowly starting to crack. But just as everything seemed to flow smoothly, a call from the gala's microphone cut through the chatter. "Ladies and gentlemen, please gather around for the cake cutting." Max felt simultaneously excited and nervous. It was one of those party moments that usually made him want to retreat, yet here he was, front and center, ready to share in this tradition. "Mom, can we see the cake?" Jake tugged at Sarah, who seemed to hesitate. "Okay, but only for a minute," she sighed, her protective instincts battling against her children's enthusiasm. As they all moved toward the cake, Max felt a sudden flicker of determination. This moment could change everything, but it would take more than just a kind gesture to win Sarah over. Once they reached the stage, the grand cake sat like a centerpiece, gleaming with elaborate icing. Max grinned at the sight. He hadn't seen such a spectacle in ages. It made him feel like a kid again, caught up in the wonder of it all. But just then, his phone buzzed on his lap, pulling him back to reality. Glancing down, his heart sank. A message from his assistant appeared, urgent and unexpected. "We need to discuss the press, Max. They're on to something." The weight of his world collided with the lightness of the moment, and he wished he could retreat from both. Moments like these inspired genuine emotions, yet they also threatened everything he had begun to build. Sarah's frown deepened as she caught his expression, curious and wary. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concern edging her voice. Max hesitated, torn between sharing the truth and protecting the fragile bond they had begun to form. Just as he was about to speak, the lights dimmed slightly, casting an enchanting aura over the cake. Laughter rang louder, and he could feel the urgency to connect with Sarah, to share a foundation of honesty. But would he find the courage to be vulnerable in that moment? As the first note of the song began to play for the cake cutting, Max held Sarah's gaze. It was a question that lingered in the air. Would he reveal his truth before the night spiraled out of control? With a deep breath, he felt the pressure mount. What would it take for Sarah to truly trust him? The music swelled, a soft melody that filled the air with a sense of warmth. All around, friends and family began to gather, their faces glowing with smiles. Max felt his heart race, torn between two worlds: the light-hearted chaos of children and the looming shadows of his past. He turned back to Sarah, the softness of her eyes a stark contrast to the tension coiling in his stomach. He began, his voice barely above a whisper, but the words caught in his throat. The cake-cutting ceremony unfolded before them. People started to cheer, clapping their hands as Sarah lifted the knife to slice the towering confection. She looked radiant in that moment, the weight of the occasion settling around her like a warm embrace. Yet, Max couldn't shake the feeling of dread that lurked just beneath the surface. Jake and Lily darted forward, eyes wide with eagerness, barely able to contain their excitement. "Can I have the first piece?" Jake called out, his cheeks flushed with thrill. Sarah obediently cut a small slice and handed it to her son, who danced away in sheer joy. In the midst of the celebration, Max felt an overwhelming urge to step closer to Sarah, to lean into her energy and let it sweep him away from his burdens. But could he do that without disclosing the truth he kept bottled inside? As Sarah shared slices of cake with her children, laughter bursting like bubbles into the air, Max couldn't help but admire her. She was everything he wished he could be: open, authentic, and fearless. But could he reveal the darker parts of his story without risking it all? "Max?" Sarah's gentle voice broke through his reverie, her expression one of curiosity tinged with something deeper. "You okay? You seem somewhere else." The lightness of the moment felt heavy in her presence. "I'm fine," he lied, but the word tasted bitter. "Just a little overwhelmed, I guess." She nodded, but Max could see the doubt in her eyes. It twisted in him like a knot. How could he prove himself to her? How could he stitch together the jagged edges of his past with the hope flickering between them? As Jake returned, cake smudged on his cheeks like war paint, he tugged at Max's pants. "Can you help me reach that piece over there?" Max looked down, and in Jake's eyes, he saw the innocence and pure trust that melted away his reservations. Without thinking, he knelt down to Jake's level. "Sure thing, buddy." Reaching out to lift a larger slice from the dessert table, he felt the sweet pressure of Jake's tiny hand on his shoulder in affirmation. In that moment, the laughter mingled with the joyful clamor of steady hope. Sarah watched them with slight surprise, her tense features softening. Perhaps she, too, was feeling the shift. Maybe it wasn't just candy and cake matching them together, maybe they were on the verge of something deeper. Just as the atmosphere brightened, Max's phone buzzed again, louder this time, as if the universe was reminding him of his reality. It was his assistant again, more insistent this time. "We really need to talk, Max, now." He closed his eyes briefly, caught between the joyous chaos of children and the cavernous demands waiting outside this bubble of happiness. But as he glanced over at Sarah, captivated by her children, eyes sparkling with pride, the entire world outside felt instantly irrelevant. Max took a deep breath, feeling the full weight of his decision press against his chest. Perhaps it was time to let Sarah in, to share a piece of him she had not yet seen. Before the night slipped away, before his courage faded, he knew he had to find his voice. "Sarah," he finally said, the sound of her name promising tenderness. "I need to tell you something important, something about me." The chatter around them dimmed as every pair of eyes turned toward him, waiting, curious, will this change everything? She asked softly, uncertainty flickering behind her calm facade. Max held her gaze, heart pounding, feeling that this moment could either ruin everything or finally set him free. He was ready to share, but would it be enough to show that he was worth taking a chance on? Max felt the gravity of the moment. Several sets of eyes were on him, some wide with curiosity, others narrowed with concern. He could hear the faint whispers of the guests mingling, but they faded into the background. Right now, it was just him and Sarah, the world falling away as he braced himself for what lay ahead. "Sarah, I'm not the man you think I am," he started, his voice low but steady. "I've built my life around this ideal image, but I've hidden parts of myself, parts that are difficult to talk about." The words felt heavy, each syllable like a stone dropping in a well. Sarah's brow furrowed, her smile fading slightly. "What do you mean?" "Max, you don't have to know, I need to," he interrupted, feeling a surge of determination. "You deserve to know. I've struggled with fear, with mistakes I've made, and things I've done." He hesitated, the memories dark and agonizing. "My family, they were never there for me. I was lost, in a world that didn't care." Sarah reached for his hand, her touch offering warmth that countered the chill creeping up his spine. Encouraged, he continued, "I succeeded in business, but that success came with a price. I pushed people away. I hid my pain behind money and status." There was a collective intake of breath from the onlookers, and Max could feel their surprise, their disbelief. But the only thing that mattered was Sarah's expression. The concern in her eyes deepened, yet there was no judgment, only understanding. "You carry that weight, don't you?" she said softly, squeezing his hand. "You don't have to do this alone, Max. I want to help you." He hesitated, the knot in his stomach tightening. "What if I'm broken? What if who I am isn't enough?" Her eyes met his, fierce and clear. "Everyone has something they're battling, Max. But sharing it doesn't make you broken, it makes you human." There was a fierce compassion in her voice, one that made his heart swell and ache at the same time. Max felt the warmth of her gaze wash over him, a lifeline pulling him from the depths of despair. "But what if you can't look at me the same after this?" "I don't care about your past or your mistakes," she replied assuredly. "What matters is what you do moving forward. You have a chance to change, to be better." He closed his eyes, feeling the tears threaten to spill. The veil of fear that had held him captive for so long began to lift. Sarah's faith in him felt like the sunlight breaking through storm clouds, and he thought perhaps he could finally breathe. Jake's laughter rang out, breaking the intensity that surrounded them like a spell. The moment felt almost surreal, as if they were caught in a bubble while life danced wildly around them. "Can I have more cake?" Jake shouted, with frosting still smeared across his cheeks. It was a small, beautiful reminder that happiness could exist in innocently simple things. Max chuckled, tension easing as he glanced back at Sarah. I guess we better make sure he gets enough while we're at it. Right. He has a serious cake mission going on. Sarah laughed, but there was something deeper in her eyes, still tracing the quiet connection they had just forged. But as the celebration continued, Max felt the weight of that decision still hanging heavily in the air. Opening up could lead to healing, yet it could also unravel the fragile peace he had found with Sarah. And as he watched her smile at Jake and Lily, a flicker of doubt gnawed at him. What if telling her his truth pushed her away instead of pulling her closer? Max squared his shoulders, determination flooding back in. He would take the risk. Because love, real love, was built on honesty, wasn't it? Just as he resolved that, his phone buzzed once more, a sharp reminder of the world waiting for him outside this moment. Max. Sarah called, sensing his distraction. What's wrong? His heartbeat drummed in his ears. It was decision time. With the chaos swirling, could he hold on to her faith long enough to transform, or would the shadows of his past drag him back down? Feeling the tension of the moment spiral, he realized one thing: he had to make a choice, and fast, before the chance to step into the light slipped away forever. As he reached for his phone, he felt Sarah's eyes on him, a mixture of encouragement and concern. What awaited him on the other side of that screen might just change everything again. Would he take the call? Max took a deep breath, the moment suspended in time. His phone buzzed insistently, jarring him from his thoughts. He looked down, his heart racing. The caller ID was a name he hadn't expected to see, a name etched with memories and regrets. Should I answer it? He murmured, still feeling Sarah's gaze. Only if you're ready, she replied softly, squeezing his hand again, grounding him in the chaos surrounding them. You don't have to do this alone. Just remember, I'm right here. He hesitated, a million doubts swirling in his mind. The name on the screen belonged to someone who represented the past he was so desperate to escape, but also a part of the reality he had to face. The internal battle intensified, the pull of the past clashing against the hope Sarah stirred within him. Max? Sarah said, sensing his struggle. You need to decide what's best for you. With uncertain fingers, he pressed the answer button, and the voice on the other end sent a chill down his spine. Max, it's your brother, Daniel. Just hearing that name set off emotions he thought he had buried. Memories flooded in, sharp and painful childhood fights, the unending pressure to succeed, the distance that had grown between them. He could feel the crowd around him fade away, leaving just him and that voice. Are you okay? I heard you were at some event. Daniel's tone contained a mix of concern and curiosity, but beneath it lay the familiar edge of judgment that had always been there. Yeah. I'm fine, Max replied, his voice hardening as he clutched his phone tighter. It felt like the weight of the world was pressing down. What do you want? Just checking in. Mom's been asking about you. His brother's voice lost its gentleness. You know how she feels about you not coming home. The memories of family gatherings where he felt like a ghost returned uninvited. Those times when he pretended to be happy, smiles plastered on his face while everything inside screamed for recognition and acceptance. He hesitated, knowing he had to lay bare some of his truth, yet fearing the fallout that might come with it. A flash of Sarah's encouraging gaze brought him back into focus. I'm not coming home, Daniel. Not like this. Not unless we can talk things through. I'm trying to be a better man, and that starts with being honest. There was silence on the other end. He could almost hear the gears turning in his brother's mind. Honestly? You've always been the family disappointment. Do you really think they'll give you a hero's welcome? You don't get to rewrite our history just like that. Max's heart sank. Those words cut deep, just as they always had. But this time he didn't flinch. He wasn't the lost boy anymore. I'm trying, Daniel. Please just try to understand. His brother scoffed. Understand that you've changed? That you want to paint the past differently? It doesn't work that way, Max. The tension surged like electricity. His voice faltered for a moment, but he found strength in Sarah's unwavering support. I don't expect you to understand overnight, but I will not let your words dictate my future any longer. Fine, Daniel said, irritation creeping into his tone. Just know, when everything falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you. With that, Daniel hung up, the silence palpable. A storm of thoughts clouded Max's mind, mingled with guilt and fear of rejection. He'd taken a step, but was this a sign of liberation or the road back to despair? You did well, Sarah whispered, her hand still holding his. You stood up for yourself. Max met her eyes. Did I? Or did I just open a door I can't close? Her expression turned serious, finally revealing the weight of their shared moment. Opening that door was brave. It's a big step, Max. But every step counts. You can't move forward without facing what's behind you. A flicker of hope sparked in his chest, igniting something he thought was extinguished. Maybe she was right. However, doubts lingered in his heart. Had he been too bold? Was this truly going to be the beginning of a new path, or had he just invited more chaos into his life? Before he could speak, Jake's laughter erupted again, mischievous and carefree, breaking through Max's spiraling thoughts. That lightness contrasted sharply with the heaviness in the air, a reminder of what mattered: connection, laughter, love. As he watched Jake run towards a pile of balloons, bursting with joy, something tugged at Max's heart. Could he bring that joy into his own world, one of honesty, acceptance, and hope? With Sarah's hand firmly clasped in his, Max understood one thing for sure: the next call he made would be just as crucial. Someone he had been avoiding, fearing what they might say. Would reaching out to face another truth give him the strength to truly move forward? Max glanced at Sarah, her eyes shining with unwavering support. I need to call Ellie, he said, feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. Ellie was a warm light in his life, someone he'd pushed away for too long, fearing her reaction to the new chapter he was trying to write. Are you sure? Sarah asked, concern flickering momentarily across her face. You don't have to rush into anything. I know, he responded, taking a steadying breath. But if I want to move forward, I need to face this one too. The thought of Ellie was like a balm to his spirit, yet it also stirred up a torrent of unresolved emotions. As he dialed her number, his heart pounded. The familiar ring felt loud in his ears, echoing his uncertainty. When she answered, her voice was both cautious and hopeful. Max? Is everything okay? Hey, Ellie. I just wanted to talk. His throat felt tight, but he pressed on. Can we meet? Of course. Where? There was warmth in her response, a spark of the connection they once shared. Let us meet at that little cafe we used to go to, he suggested, the memory washing over him like a tide, bringing nostalgia, regret, and ultimately, hope. When they arrived at the cafe, redolent with the rich scent of coffee and baked goods, Max spotted her sitting near the window. She looked just as he remembered, bright eyes framed by slightly messy curls, a hint of uncertainty flickering across her features as she caught sight of him. Hey, he said softly, taking a seat across from her. Thanks for coming. Of course, she replied, her smile faltering. I was worried when I got your call. Yeah, I know. I've been distant. He swallowed hard. I didn't want to drag you into my mess. We're friends, Max. That's what friends do. Her voice was steady, but he could feel the underlying tension. I want to help. I don't know if you can, but I'm trying to be better, to be honest, he admitted, courage welling up within him. The call I just had with my brother made me realize I can't hide anymore. I need to own my past, and that means reaching out to people like you. She drew in a sharp breath, her expression shifting as she processed his words. Are you saying you're ready to share what has been going on? Because I'd like to hear it. All of it. Max nodded, searching for the right words. I've been running from the things I did and didn't do. From the people I hurt. I've messed up a lot, Ellie, and I know it's too late for some things, but I want to fix what I can. Her eyes softened, a flicker of understanding passing between them. I get that. But you don't have to fix everything all at once. It's a process, Max. His heart swelled with gratitude. You make it sound so simple. It kind of is if you allow yourself to breathe. She smiled then, a glimmer of the connection they once had surfacing. They spent the next hour sharing stories, laughter, and painful truths. Each moment felt like stepping through fog, where clarity began to replace uncertainty. The warmth of their shared history enveloped them, igniting old feelings he wasn't sure he was ready to confront. As they stood to leave, Max caught her gaze, a mixture of hope and hesitance written across his face. I'd like to see you more. To try to be the friend I haven't been. I'd like that too, she said softly, her sincerity wrapping around him. But just as he felt a sense of lightness begin to lift him, the weight of the lingering conversation with Daniel crept back in. One call had opened a door, but was he ready for the next? Max took a deep breath, his chest tightening. There's still so much left to face, Ellie. What if it all goes wrong? She leaned in closer, her voice a whisper. But what if it goes right? With those words echoing in his mind, a call to adventure sparked in his heart. It was time to take that step, to reach out and face the final ghost of his past. He pulled out his phone, trembling just a bit. Who would be on the other end? The number scrolled through his mind, and he hesitated. Would this call be a turning point or another dead end? He pressed the screen, uncertainty gripping him like a vice. Max's thumb hovered over the green call button, sweat pooling in his palms. He closed his eyes, picturing the conversation he would have with Daniel. The brother who had always been there and yet felt like a stranger, especially after the last few years. The tension between them had become palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. After what felt like an eternity, he pressed the button and the phone rang. Each beep resonated in his chest, a rhythmic reminder of the uncertainty that loomed ahead. Hello? Daniel's voice was clipped, cautious. Hey, it's me, Max said, feeling the walls close in around him as he struggled to steady his breathing. Can we talk? Sure. What's up? Daniel replied, a longer pause hanging heavily between them. Can we meet? Max asked, trying to keep his tone casual, but he could hear the strain sneaking into his voice. Yeah. Where? The same diner we used to go to as kids. The words felt like a time capsule, bringing forth nostalgia wrapped in pain. Okay. I'll be there in 20. The call ended abruptly, leaving Max staring at the screen, listening to the silence that followed. The diner was only a short drive away, but every second in the car felt like a lifetime as memories flooded back. Laughter over milkshakes, arguments about which superhero was the best, the soft banter of boyhood innocence. But those memories were tainted now, tangled in expectations and missteps. Max parked and sat in the car for a moment, staring at his reflection in the rearview mirror. He didn't recognize the man looking back. He seemed lost, yet it was the flicker of resolve in his eyes that told him he was ready for this. Nudging open the diner's door, he stepped inside. The familiar scent of greasy fries and sweet pancakes enveloped him. He scanned the room, heart racing until his gaze found Daniel, already seated at their old booth. He looked older, weariness etched in the lines of his face. Hey, Max said, sliding into the booth opposite. Hey. Daniel's voice was clipped, as if they were two strangers instead of brothers. A brief silence settled between them, heavy with unspoken words. I've been thinking, Max started, wanting to bridge the gap. About us. About everything that's happened. Every time I think about you, all I feel is disappointment, Daniel shot back before he could stop himself, frustration spilling over. Max felt the sting of the words like a slap. I know I haven't been there, Dan. I messed up. But I want to change that. And you think a casual lunch is going to fix everything? Daniel scoffed, crossing his arms tightly across his chest. No. You're right, Max admitted, running a hand through his hair. But maybe starting here will help. I want to talk about it. About why we're so far apart. Daniel's expression softened, just enough for Max to see a flicker of the brother he missed. It's complicated, Max. There's a lot of hurt between us. I know. But I'm willing to listen. I need to hear you. The sincerity in his words cut through the tension. With that, a different kind of silence filled the space, one that wasn't bitter, but rather charged with potential. Daniel shifted, uncrossing his arms. What do you want to know? Max's heart raced, knowing they were standing on the edge of a conversation capable of changing everything. He leaned forward slightly. I want to know about the last few years, how it was for you when I disappeared. The question hung in the air, palpable and real. Daniel's gaze turned distant, and Max knew they were about to navigate the murky waters of their past. The conversation would either pull them together or break them apart entirely. But as he waited for Daniel's response, a thought wormed its way into his mind, an undercurrent of urgency. What if this was a chance to not just mend their relationship but to make it stronger? The door opened, and a burst of laughter from a group of friends blurred the tension momentarily, but Max couldn't shake the feeling that everything was on the line. He needed to be brave now more than ever. Daniel looked up, uncertainty reflected in his eyes. Okay, he began slowly, drawing a breath that seemed to hold so much weight. Max steadied himself, heart in his throat. This was only the beginning. But as Daniel opened his mouth to speak, his phone buzzed on the table. Max's eyes darted to it instinctively, and Daniel frowned, a look of annoyance crossing his features. Just, give me a second, he muttered, picking up the phone. Will this moment slip away just like that? Max felt the tension spiral anew, wondering if they could really break the barriers between them once and for all. Would the next few moments mean healing or hurt? Max watched Daniel swipe his phone, his heart racing. There was no escaping the feeling that this could be the moment everything changed, yet here they were, one more barrier threatening to divide them. Watching his brother's face as he read the screen, Max couldn't help but feel that familiar rush of helplessness. Just a second, Daniel mumbled, his focus on the phone seemingly expanding the distance between them. Max's own breath labored under the weight of the silence that ensued. The laughter around them faded into a dull hum, as if the diner itself was holding its breath. What is it? Max asked tentatively, trying to break through the wall that had gone up again. Daniel's eyes narrowed at the screen. It's just work, he said dismissively, but the tension in his voice made it clear it was more than that. The anger he had displayed moments ago was simmering just below the surface, ready to boil over. Dan, if it's important, take the call, Max urged, feeling like he was unraveling. It's not, Daniel replied, his voice hardening. It can wait. We need to talk. Then let us talk, Max insisted, leaning forward. I want to know where we stand. Daniel sighed, putting the phone down, but the fire in his eyes hadn't been extinguished. You want to know where we stand? You disappeared, Max. You left without a word. I spent years worried that something terrible happened to you. And then nothing. You just show up out of the blue, and you expect us to pick up where we left off? Max's chest tightened as reality set in. I hurt you, I know. I've seen how my absence affected our family, how it crushed our parents. I've carried that guilt every day. Guilt doesn't fix things. It doesn't bring you back. Daniel shot back, his voice rising. You had all that time to think about us while I was picking up the pieces. I didn't take that time. I was lost. Max's voice cracked, desperation spilling out. I didn't know how to deal, so I ran. But I'm here now, Daniel. I want to try. Daniel's eyes softened for a moment, the walls around his heart wavering. Try? You think trying is enough? Max could see the hurt shimmering in his brother's eyes. It was an ocean of pain, and he longed to swim through it, but he knew he would need to tread carefully. Not just trying, he said, softer now. I want to understand. I want to make it right. An awkward silence settled again, heavier than before. The question behind the silence lingered, Was healing even possible? Slowly, Daniel looked away, his fingers tapping anxiously against the table. I don't know if I can believe that, Max. After everything, how do you expect me to just forgive? I don't expect forgiveness. Max's heart raced as his voice lowered further. But I need you to know I'm back because I want to be a part of this family again. I miss you. I miss us. It felt as if the diner had faded, leaving just the two of them, worlds apart yet somehow united in their shared grief. Daniel's muscles tensed and Max could see the internal struggle swirling within him. I don't know where to even begin, Daniel finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Then let us begin here. Max took a deep breath, trying to fight against the knot in his throat. Tell me how you felt when I was gone. How it affected you. I want to hear it all. Daniel's expression shifted, and for the first time, uncertainty mingled with curiosity. You really want to know? Yes. I do. The silence that followed was different. This one was charged with a slowly dawning hope, the kind that felt fragile yet electrifying. Before Daniel could respond, the door swung open again, and a new group burst into laughter, momentarily disrupting their moment. Max's heart sank as he watched the shift in Daniel, a mixture of annoyance and sadness crossing his face. Can we talk without distractions for a minute? Daniel said, his frustration bubbling over again. Yes, please, Max replied, desperate to keep the connection alive. But inside, shadows of doubt loomed again, gnawing at him. Would he lose this chance? Daniel let out a shaky breath, his voice dropping even lower. Fine. But if we're going to do this, we need to be honest. No more hiding. Agreed, Max said, his pulse quickening. But just as Daniel seemed ready to dive into the depths of hidden feelings, his phone buzzed again, creating another rift between them. Max's heart sank. Could they truly move forward, or was he losing Daniel for good? Daniel stared at the screen, caught between two worlds, two paths. And in that fraught moment, Max braced himself for either breakthrough or collapse. Would he find the words that finally break through the boundaries that had built up over the years? Or was he destined to stay lost in the echoes of a complicated past? The tension in the diner crackled like static electricity. Max stared intently at Daniel, willing him to choose their moment over whatever was consuming him on that screen. What if this was their one chance to mend things that felt irrevocably broken? Dan, Max said gently, his voice steadying with hope, we both know there's so much we need to face. I'm not going to run away again. Let us talk. Now. Daniel's gaze snapped up to meet Max's, his eyes flickering with something raw and vulnerable. He hesitated, weighing the importance of the call against the weight of years lost between them. Okay, he muttered, finally laying his phone face down on the table, a silent concession. Let us do this. Max took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of their shared history flood back, a time when they laughed, fought like brothers do, and felt like family. The last time I was really present in your life, he began, and his heart thudded in his chest, I was a mess. I thought running would fix everything. But it just made things worse. And I was left picking up the pieces, Daniel replied, a note of pain in his voice. I lost my brother, Max. You don't just walk away from that and expect everything to be fine. His words hung heavy in the air. Max's heart ached, but he pressed forward. I know, and I'm so sorry for the hurt I caused. I've been haunted by the decision every day. Leaving cut deeper than anything else I've faced. Daniel's brow furrowed, a mix of understanding and resentment dancing on his features. He took a long breath, punctuated by a sigh. It's not just about you, you know. We had a family, our family. They're still affected. They still ask about you. The reality hit Max like a freight train. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I thought I was protecting you from the mess I made of my life. But in doing so, you hurt all of us, Daniel said, the frustration breaking into a slight tremor. I was furious. You shattered our family. And now you want to come back and put it all back together? Yes, Max responded with a surge of determination. I do. Silence enveloped them, palpable and thick. The familiar clamor from the diner receded into the background as they faced each other, tears threatening to spill. Two brothers standing on the brink of connection, the possibility of healing flickering like a fragile flame. Daniel's eyes held a flicker of softness now. You actually want to try? I'm here, aren't I? Max said, feeling the weight of the moment. I've made mistakes, but for the first time, I want to own them. I want to rebuild what we had, even if it's different. Daniel studied him for a moment longer, the walls of his defenses beginning to lower. How do I know you won't just leave again? Max swallowed hard, knowing this was the turning point. You don't. But I promise you, everything's changed for me. I've learned. I want to be a better brother, not just for you, but for everyone. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes, the facade that had held him together for so long beginning to crack. It's going to take time. I'm willing to put in the time, Dan, Max replied, his heart racing. Just give me a chance. Daniel nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in the depths of his gaze. Then let us figure this out together. As they began to talk, layers of hurt began to peel away. Years of misunderstanding made way for conversation, laughter, and shared tears. For the first time, the diner felt less like a battleground and more like a homecoming. Max could feel himself lightening, the burden of the past easing just a bit with each word shared. He glanced out the window, and for the first time in what felt like years, he could finally see the possibility of a brighter future, a future intertwined with family, community, and the children he had glimpsed in the gala. Around them, life continued to bustle, laughter ringing out from every corner, the aroma of comfort food wrapping them like a warm hug. There was something magical about this moment. He could feel the shift seeping deep into his bones, pushing away old shadows and igniting a new path. In that diner full of memories, hope and courage began to sweeten the air around them. A future, once daunting, now seemed attainable. It was a process, but both brothers were determined to walk this new road together, arm in arm, understanding forged from the fires of pain, ready to reclaim what they thought had been lost forever. And as Max took his brother's hand, a small yet significant promise was made that they would never let the past dictate their future again. The world outside buzzed with life as they embraced the vulnerability of moving forward together, no longer alone. Now it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to stay connected with the incredible stories that touch the heart. Leave a like now to show your support. Every thumbs up counts and fuels our mission. Comment below about your reactions, feelings, and what this transformation means to you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this life-changing journey. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans like you understand how important it is to support our channel through these actions. Make your voice heard.